Hey guys, how's it going? Cartoon Carl here, back again with another tutorial. How we all doing? Alright. So, you wanna play Fatal Frame in VR with first person? Got you covered. Okay, so as always, if you want to use motion controls, and you're using Oculus hardware, use the Dolphin VR.exe. Any other VR headset, use the regular Dolphin.exe. Okay, go ahead and open up your Dolphin. Right click on the game. Go to Properties, Edit Config. Copy and paste what I have in the description. Paste it in there. Save it. Alright. Okay, so let's go over some things to help enhance your gameplay. Alright. So, right off the bat, cutscenes. So you got two types of cutscenes. You got your 2D floating screen, pre-rendered. Absolutely fine, nothing wrong with that. And then you got your main cutscenes. Now, these are cool. So imagine you're like doing theater and you're on a stage with the actors. That's what this is. So the cutscene's taking place all around you, 360 degrees, full 3D, 6 stuff, all of that. So be sure to look around, take in your surroundings. You're part of the story now. So yeah, there's a bit of a departure from the flat game. Alright. Okay. So next thing I want to discuss is the camera. Alright. So this makes use of the Wiimote's gyroscope. So no, this is one of those Wii games that did not use the pointer function or the IR function. It's just non-existent. This just uses accelerometer and gyroscope only. So that kind of helps us a little bit here. So we're going to make this a little bit more immersive for ourselves. So if you just take your controllers and put them up to your face as though you were holding a camera, press and hold the B button, that brings up your camera in game, and then you look around as though you're holding a camera up to your face. Very immersive, guys. This is definitely the way to play. And yeah, okay, so this one's a bit weird, but the flashlight. I got no idea why Nintendo did this. Alright, so your character, all three of them, hold the flashlight in their left hand, yet you use your right motion controller to work the damn thing. I can't figure out why they did this. It's so weird. Like, why didn't they have their in-game character just hold the flashlight in their right hands? I don't get it. And if they don't use the IR function of the Wii, why didn't they just use the nunchuck accelerometer and gyroscope, which it had the capability of doing? I really don't get it. I don't know why they've done this. I haven't been able to figure out how to remap motion, but I'll look into it and see what I can do. I don't know. Alright, next up, when you alter the in-game camera, like I've done to make the first-person perspective, not every angle saves. So, if you move forward and back, that'll save, but if you move your character up, down, left or right, sometimes that does not save. So, if that happens, here's how you fix it. So press and hold shift, push the E button 5 times. That'll move the height. Press and hold shift again, and press the D button once. That'll center your character. So now you should find the correct height. That's just one of the limitations of the Dolphin VR emulator. Next step, copy the settings I have on screen in their entirety. Pause the video if you need to. It's alright, I'll wait. Okay, moving on. That's basically it, you guys. You're ready to experience the terror in first-person VR. See y'all in game. VRified Games.
What's up, player? Yeah, the living dead talking head. Coming at you live with Daigo with VRified Games. How you doing, Daigo?
Hello, Ed.
I'm alright. What are we doing today, my man?
Okay, Ed. So, if you guys are like an old school survival horror fan, we got great news recently.
Yeah?
Yeah. So check it out. One of the biggest survival horror franchises in terms of having a cult following, but not so much a mainstream following, is Fatal Frame, or as it's known elsewhere, Project Zero. Yeah, it's got two names.
Madoka, なんか思い出せた。ずいぶん前のことだし、私たち5人が映っていたのは確かにこの建物ね。ねえ美咲、本当にここに来ればよかったのかな。写真の場所でも何も思い出せなかったし、もう帰ろう。私の言う通りにしてればいいの。まどかもあんな風になりたいの。そう、私たちを見てしまった。次は私たちの番だ。神隠しにあった5人が順番に。そういえばこの感じ、どこに連れて行くの？連れて行かないで。美咲。
Fuck knows why. It's like Resident Evil Biohazard. These games have to have two names. Who knows why? I don't know why. Do you know why?
No.
Well, I don't. So, okay. So why is this good news? Well, one game in the series that never got a Western release was Fatal Frame 4, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Never happened. Never came over here. And it's a damn shame, because that game itself is amazing. But recently, we had an announcement that we're getting a remaster over here in the West. For the first time, we'll be able to play this game localized with English subtitles, or possibly even English language in terms of a spoken language. Now, you were able to get this game, of course, as a Japanese import, and there was a patch made by fans with English subtitles, so it was possible to play the game up until now. But it made me think, okay, this is cool. This is cool. So we've already got Maiden of the Blackwater, and now we're getting this game remastered, but still no Fatal Frame / Project Zero VR. Huh. And that got me thinking, well, okay, hang on. Some of these games were released on Wii, right? Couldn't we get them in VR? And after days and days of tinkering, hours of changing code, yeah, we got it up and running. So we got Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, that's Fatal Frame 4, the game that will be released very shortly. We've gotten that up to VR in 4K. Not only that, we have culling codes, so you're able to freely look around and see everything. The geometry is rendered as it should be, unlike the previous video, Metal Gear, still looking into that. So that's cool. We have the patched version, so we have English subtitles, another bonus. I have messed around with the 2D screens and changed the perspective to first person. You can still play third person if you wish, that's fine. That's just how I roll. I like to get things in first person just to get it that bit much more immersive. But you do you, I'll do me. We're a happy family. Not finished yet. Can still do some tweaking, but I'll show you what we got so far. Just because I like to do that. So okay, Fatal Frame / Project Zero. So it all started way back in the early days of PS2. Survival horror was exploding. You had Resident Evil, you had Silent Hill, all these other companies were kind of looking, okay.
美咲美咲
Let's make some money off this fad that's happening right now. And so, one of those games was Fatal Frame / Project Zero. Now, what set this apart was, you didn't have weapons in the sense of, you didn't swing a bar at monsters like in Silent Hill, or you didn't have a revolver like you would in Resident Evil. No, your weapon of choice was a camera. And this was quite interesting because there are certain cultures that believe taking your photo traps your soul. So, these games kind of fed into that a little bit. You use a camera as an offensive weapon against ghosts. And ghosts are your main antagonists in these games. Now, they are fantastic. Guys, the jump scares, the tension, just everything about the Fatal Frame / Project Zero series is so good, so good. And oddly, it never got the mainstream success that Resident Evil or Silent Hill did. That being said, it has a huge cult following, like you wouldn't believe, man. The fans for this game are just as rabid, they're just not as mainstream. So yeah, the first Fatal Frame came out on PS2. This was at a time when 3D games were relatively new. Obviously PS1, Saturn, all those systems had their day. But they were still trying to figure out the right control scheme for these 3D games. So it still had tank control, and it had fixed camera angles. But when you switch to combat with the camera, it switched to first person, which makes sense, it's a camera. However, the control sticks changed. Oddly, when you switch to camera. It was so jarring and so weird. Thankfully now, with the use of emulators, you can kind of get around that with controllers, but back in the day, and playing it even now, like with the PSN version or what have you, the controls are still that clunky, weird ass control system, which it takes you out of the game. It really does. That being said, the game itself, fantastic story. The scares are amazing. It's steeped in the Japanese folklore. It's just great. Fantastic. That was followed up by a sequel, which everyone and their sister claims to be the best in the series. I myself love it. That's Crimson Butterfly. Just the story alone is just so out there, but also so amazing. Like, you play these twin sisters, and I won't go into it because I think I might just get this into VR as well. So it was originally released on PS2. Then there was an enhanced version on Xbox, which itself had a first-person perspective. And then, many years later, it was remastered, remade, whatever you want to call it. It was done again on the Wii console. So I will be looking into that at some point in the future. If you guys like Fatal Frame 4, let me know, and I'll get Fatal Frame 2 Remake up and running as well. Because that's also a great experience in VR. I'd imagine. Same engine and all the rest. It was built off the Fatal Frame 4 engine. So it should work. Following that game, which everyone says is their favourite, came Fatal Frame 3, The Tormented, which is actually my favourite. Now, yeah, boo hiss from the audience. It's not everyone's favourite, but it happens to be mine. That was my introduction to the series. In my opinion, that's when they perfected the control system. So yep, you still had your fixed camera angles, third-person perspective, first person when you get into camera. However, the controls just worked in this game where they kind of failed in Fatal Frame 1, they worked in this one. Tight story. It has ties to the first game, so it works as a sequel, whereas Crimson Butterfly was kind of its own thing. This is a sequel to the first. Fantastic game. Love it. Great. Then after that came Fatal Frame 4, or Project Zero 4, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, which is the game we're looking at today. It was released in Japan only. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but for whatever reason it never got a release over here. And it's a huge departure for the series. Now this came out following Resident Evil 4's success, and I think at the time people were kind of jaded with how survival horror was. So Resident Evil 4 was kind of like a breath of fresh air at the time, with its over-the-shoulder camera, its combat system, and all the rest of it. So the guys over the Fatal Frame 4 got Suda51, who is best known for Killer 7 and No More Heroes, and tons of other games, but those are the big ones. So they got him involved. You can kind of tell. So just like Resident Evil 4, it's got an over-the-shoulder perspective. So the fixed camera angles are gone. They're gone. Apart from cutscenes. The cutscenes still kind of use them, which is nice. Yeah, so it's over-the-shoulder camera. Combat is still in first person. You've got the use of motion controls this time, and they work fantastic for aiming your camera. Really, really good. They're not so intrusive for the main game because it doesn't use the IR pointer. It uses the Wiimote's gyroscope and accelerometer only. So it's not so bad. Oddity of oddities, and I think Cartoon Carl will go over this as well. The flashlight. It's so jarring. It's so weird. You hold your flashlight in your left hand, but it's motion controlled with your right hand. So you're there flailing your right hand around and your left hand is moving for the avatar. It's so bloody weird. I don't know why that is. I guess from a third person perspective it's not so weird, but you really, really notice it when you move into first. Yeah, it's something I'll look into. But that was weird. So as I was saying, the game never got a release in the West. There was a fan patch made, a fan translation, which if you had a modded Wii, you could use it with the actual store-bought Japanese copy. We have that copy, so that's the one we're playing. It's not 100% correct translation, but it's like 99.9% there. There are a lot of cultural references that may not make a lot of sense. So in terms of an actual localization, it's a bit lacking in that sense. The remaster, the upcoming remaster, may touch upon that, and we may get an actual, honest to God, localized adaptation, which I'm really hoping for, because story-wise, this game is great. Again, it's another departure. It's not one of the, what I would call mainline series like Part 1 and Part 3. It's its own thing like Part 2 was. The only thing that connects it is the camera obscura. That's the only common thread in all the games, actually. And the fact that you face down ghosts. So following the success of that in Japan, they decided to go ahead and remake the second game, which everyone swore blind was the best game. And they did. They remade the second game, Crimson Butterfly, off the back of the engine of Fatal Frame 4. So again, you've got your over-the-shoulder perspective, and gameplay-wise, it's pretty much identical. Everything that was introduced gameplay-wise in Part 4 has been brought back gameplay-wise for Part 2 remake. It's a solid time as well. It's debatable which version of Part 2 is the best. The original / Xbox version or the Wii remake. Both are fantastic. Both are telling the same story, basically. Yeah, it's subjective which you think is the best. I like it. I can get it in VR, so there is that. And if you guys like what I've done with Fatal Frame 4 and want the same sort of treatment for Fatal Frame 2, just let me know and I'll do it, because I love survival horror. And yeah, there you go. So following that, the last release in the series was Maiden of the Blackwater, which was released on the Wii U exclusively. And it made great use of the Wii U's controller. It is one of the only games actually that used the Wii U's controller to its maximum potential. The only other game that springs to mind was Zombie U. It's a great time on that console. Love Maiden of the Blackwater, but because the Wii U console itself wasn't really successful at all, it's like very little people got to experience Fatal Frame 5, which is a pity, absolute pity. But it was re-released a year or two back for PC, and it got the remaster treatment on then current gen consoles. So people are able to play Maiden of the Blackwater now. Which is what prompted them to re-release Part 4, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, finally getting a release in the West as well, I might add, for PC and current gen consoles today. Then finally, there was Bird Camera for the Nintendo 3DS. This was basically an augmented reality game. It was a neat idea. I mean, you used your 3DS as a camera, you know. Ghosts would appear in 3D in an augmented reality kind of situation. So they were everywhere, all around you. You had to point, click, shoot. Be honest, I didn't play this myself, so I don't know that much about it. Like it was a 3DS exclusive, and I didn't have a 3DS. But for all intents and purposes, on paper the idea sounds great. But honestly, I don't know how it played. So that brings us up to date. It hasn't been a new Fatal Frame / Project Zero game since Part 5. Hasn't been a VR version, sadly. But here you go. Here's a VR version. Full of jank, full of all of that, but you know, it's there if you want to experience it. And I wholeheartedly recommend you do, because once you take the atmosphere, once you take the gameplay, and you wrap it around yourself in 360 degrees, full 3D, 6-stuff head tracking with motion controls. Boy, let me tell you, these ghosts are terrifying. They might be laughable on the 2D screen, but when they're up in your face, my guy, let me tell you. So, okay, I'm going to leave it there. You guys enjoy the gameplay, and yeah, VRified Games out.
Yeah, VRified Games out-of-body experience.
Misaki? 誰も覚えていないことは存在しないことになるのだろうか。私には小さい頃の記憶がない。私がいた島のこと、住んでいた家のこと、そして父のことも。私たちが神隠しにあった以前のことは何も思い出せない。一緒に見つかった4人もあの時のことは覚えていない。かすかに思い出せるのは一つの旋律。いつもここで途切れてしまう。音楽とともによみがえる記憶のかけら。この記憶はあれが老月と2人の友達が死んだ。マリエとトモエ、神隠しにあったうちの2人。まどかは美咲と島に行くと私に告げ、戻ってない。
あの島へは近寄らないで、ルカ。お母さん、知らない方がいいことがあるの。
でも私は確かめたい。あの時何があったのか、そして失った記憶の先に何があるのか。